Hi, Stacey.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing really good. So, Stacey, tell us about you.
Yes. I'll start by just kind of in general terms. I am a wife to my husband Matt for almost 22 years. It'll be 22 in May. We started dating back in high school, so it's been more like 30 years that we've been together. So that's an accomplishment.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And together we have created three beautiful children who make us crazy, our lives hectic and crazy, and all the beautiful things of raising kids. But somehow we've kind of accomplished at raising them to just be good humans. That's our goal, to be kind and to be good humans. So we're incredibly proud to be their parents. And they, along with all of our fur babies, our three dogs, we just added another Old English Bulldog, and two kitties kind of make our family complete. So, along with all of that, I would classify myself as a professional, one who has worked really hard throughout, even high school. I always had to work harder than it seemed like everybody else, and in college. And worked myself up that corporate ladder. I started at entry level and really got myself to that top level of my career. And then it was decided when our second child was born that it was a good opportunity for me to kind of put my career on pause. My husband's career was kind of taking off. And, to be real honest, my heart was at home. I couldn't give
hmm
the organization where I was working 110%. Good news there as I look back and kind of go through struggle, as my own imposter syndrome is I was really good at, I had the opportunity to kind of mentor and sponsor the person who came in and took over that role. So I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't leaving our organization like, in a death trap because I had really been building it and working to get it where it was. I didn't want to let it go, but I thought in only fairness, my heart was really at home. So yeah, so I kind of walked away from that and all the accomplishments. To then take that off of my who are you? Well, I'm just a mom and a wife for probably 14 years.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of just a little bit about who I am.
Okay. And so what do you do now? What are you doing now?
So yes, so I am just kind of getting myself back into what I would call my professional career. I made a goal of my own to do that, but it has taken a while. I mean, it's been 6 years where I just did what worked for, I would say, our family. And imposter syndrome came in and said, you won't be able to get in there. Too much time has passed. You need to move on. Just do what works. Same schedule as the kids, and you'll be good.
Yeah,
So,
so go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So okay, so I'm going to take that question, the whole idea of what are your biggest accomplishments
Yeah.
in life and in work, and I'm going to kind of flip it on its side. What would others say about you? What would they say are your biggest accomplishments?
Um, that I am a go getter, that I don't usually back down from any challenges. I am a good listener, I am a friend. And if they were to look at, those that kind of watched me climb that corporate ladder, they would see me very different than I think the moms that I kind of lend myself to when I was, with just my children. So yes, and I mean, and even that imposter syndrome creeps in there too. Like, am I good enough as a mom, or am I just faking this? Do I really know what I'm doing?
Yeah.
When you compare yourself to other moms too. So it's always, I think imposter syndrome has always been a part of my life.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to the next question, which is what has your experience been with it? And if you wanted, you could start with sort of the first encounter with imposter syndrome that you can remember. Maybe the first time you realized that is what was actually happening.
Yep. And I would say that it was even getting into college, from coming where, all of my family on my dad's side, I was the first one out of 10 grandchildren to even go to college. So that was an accomplishment. But looking at that, I'm like, oh, I was just lucky. It was my friends who helped me study. It really wasn't the hard work I put in. It was like, I just had a good group of friends, they all cared about their stuff. They all wanted that success too. And so I think it really hit there. And then even when I got my first job, like my professional career, and I worked myself up to be that director level role, nobody in my family had that level of that title, I guess you would say. And so I was like, oh, it was just luck. I was just there at the right time. It was just the right time. I just happened to be, as the organization was changing, they were making these changes. And I just kind of was there at the right time. And that was always my excuse. It wasn't because I really earned it or I proved myself. It was really just, I was there at the right time. It was luck. Mm-hmm. And now kind of as I'm building myself back up into being in that professional world, I really didn't even know what imposter syndrome was until now. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, you really did struggle with this for a long time. And if you were to ask me probably 2 years ago, like who I was, I never would have even considered myself a professional. I wouldn't have even put that on there as tell me about yourself. Because I just feel like that was so in the past. That's not a part of who I am, but it is, it's really shaped who I am and, what I do going forward as well.
And do you still struggle with imposter syndrome?
Yep. Yes. And I'll be real honest, it wasn't until, so kind of knowing I wanted to get back into the workforce. Like I said, kids are older now, self-sufficient. I'm not as much needed as at home. I took, just like I said, entry-level position jobs, or, I'm just going to be a pair at the school. While I don't say that meaning to put that position down at all, because it is hard work. Mm-hmm. It is very hard work. But I have teachers that would say, you need to go back and get your education degree because you can run this classroom and you can do circles over so-and-so and you can do this, like, this is, you were meant to be here. You're phenomenal. Like, so they would tell me that, but I'm like, okay, more money to college when I have 3 kids that are just about there too. How do I justify that? So I think, that set me on a road to no, that was just, who you were. But then I had a health scare. I actually, at the age of 43, suffered a heart attack. Oh my goodness. In recovery to that, I realized I owed it to myself and my family to not give up on my goals and my passion. And so really started focusing on my why. And this has really kind of led me down a path of, and even certainly kind of like with COVID in itself. So I would say back up my positions at the school. Then I said, I'm doing this. I am applying for these professional positions. I'm going to get myself back to where I was. And then just got kind of my foot in the door in January of 2020. Then COVID hit. And all, the furlough, the lose your job, all of that stuff, to being, ghosted by recruiters, to getting job rejections, all of those things. But what I've learned along the way is that you have to live your life with humility. You need to still spend your time listening to others. You need to practice that mindfulness and really just focus on the present and be grateful for what you have. Mm-hmm. And do not let fear get in, because all of those failures are just one step closer to learning more about yourself. And so really that's kind of how I just, and I have to remind myself every day, because it's still hard when you get rejected, or you see somebody else, being successful and say, oh, hey, I got this job, I got that, or whatever. Well, I truly am really happy for you, but it's like, when is my turn? Mm-hmm. And it will be, but you just have to learn to be patient too. Sure. Which I think that's the one I struggle the most with.
Yeah. So when you're in the midst of feeling imposter syndrome, what does it actually feel like to be sort of in the middle of an episode of it, or to have waves of it come through? What does it feel like? What are the emotions that you feel? And do you have any physical reactions to that?
Yeah, most definitely. You just kind of feel down. I mean, definitely, you just feel down and just disappointed, and it's really hard to pick yourself back up to say, oh, but look at what I did today, or, oh, but let's go back and look at my accomplishments, especially when I've done that. Like, those accomplishments from the past don't change. So it's really hard to say, okay, well, what have you done now? Like, that's helping you get there. Like, because I know those now. I can check those off my list, but those only work for so long. So in the midst of it, it really is just being grateful for what I do have, really staying present and saying, you know, I was able to, you know, stay home with my 3 kids and look at what we've created and be grateful for that, and be grateful that I've been given a second chance to go back and do this, you know, and get myself back to where I want to be professionally. And I say that professionally only because, you know, I know I have those skills. And sometimes when I accomplish little tasks, I'm like, see, I could take it one step further. So I know I can do that for other corporations or companies just by bringing back what I've done before and where I'm at kind of just personally in my life.
Sure.
So I think that's what helps, is like, somebody's going to find that in me. Somebody out there is looking for that and will find that in me. I just need to be patient. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I try to do the most of, but it's hard. It's difficult for sure.
Yeah. And you talk a little bit about, you know, being grateful and sort of examining those things. Are there specific techniques that you've sort of put into practice that help you cope?
Yeah, definitely is, you know, daily meditation. I journal now. I have a huge journal, which helps me go back and look at just even those daily accomplishments, even when you're overcoming just those small things, those all can lead to big things. I don't really have a ton of time for, you know, social media, and those that I do follow, they are kind of on the same path as what I am. So it's, you know, meditation, people who are reaching the same goals, like-minded people. So those people I can go to and reach. So it's really surrounding yourself with that support system and asking feedback from others too. So when we get a chance to kind of connect, to say, gosh, I'm just struggling through this, I know it's helpful to have others that are out there, you know, kind of just that support system for sure.
Yeah. What would you share with someone who is experiencing imposter syndrome?
I would share that you really need to create your story. I would say go back and write down your accomplishments for sure, because and really, really take a deep look at that. It's not just, oh, I went from here to here. What did you do? What got you there? Really put yourself back into that to remember that. And then the other thing I would definitely say is to don't live your life in fear. Like, what do you have to lose? You know, like what's going to happen? Worst case scenario, the recruiter doesn't get back to you, or you get a denial letter. It's not like it's ruined your whole life or your whole career. And I know sometimes women, especially if they don't hit like 90% of the job qualifications, they think they can't do it. But really, you know, knowledge is power. Can they learn it? You know, what else can you provide for them? And learn more about the company, to know that when you go in there that you can provide, you know, all of the skill sets. What else can you bring there? For sure.
Yeah. So I have just one more question for you, Stacey.
Yep.
And that is, why did you want to be part of this imposter syndrome project?
Well, because I think it's important to be vulnerable and to, you know, again, you know, through all of the things I've been through, the example is that I've learned through humility. I still struggle with it, but the techniques have really helped me learn through that. And kind of to go back to that other question, I'm sorry to kind of gear towards that, but really figure out, I think what's really helped me is figuring out my why. Why do you want this? And why is it your passion? So once you know that, it's pretty easy to keep those steps going forward. And really, I wanted to share that. So somebody else, like that's my passion, is what can I provide for you, or what can I teach you that you can make you either on a step to where you need to be, or whether it's a skill you need to learn to make better choices in your life. I mean, that's really my passion, is people learn and can be inspired by other people. And that's really why I wanted to come on here today, is kind of to share my story to inspire others.
Well, I'm so glad you did. We're so grateful to you. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. Thanks, Stacey.
Yes, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, I saw your post on LinkedIn, and I said, why not? Again, that's one step forward to kind of really crossing up. Don't live your life in fear. What do you have to lose? So yeah, so perfect.
Agreed. If you like this series and you want to show support, go to buymeacoffee.com/ifyouaskbetty to learn more about how you can support this and future If You Ask Betty projects.